Run It Studios is the home of the Run Radio podcast and runradio.net, a podcast and station about the relentless, resilient, and innovative types, inspiring strides in life, business, and beyond. Welcome back to the Run Radio podcast. I'm Trina Wilcox, and my guest today, Neil Rogers. Welcome. You know a thing or two about running things, which is what we talk about on Run Radio. We talk about running literally, but also metaphorically when it comes to running our lives, our business. So many things can be learned from running. So, what can you tell us about running our business better?
Well, I think the way we run our business and how it's been effective is through process.
Process. All right. I know that you've got a lot of experience, and I even love the title of your book, Bar Tips. And you're going to go into that a little bit later. But what actually got you on the path to deciding to help others with everything you've learned?
I think it's just because, well, it's part of my nature, number one. I started mentoring some young people, just for friends or whatnot. And typically I'm telling them the same things their parents probably told them, but it's coming from me, right? So it's a different perspective. And of course, I put in my own stories and whatnot and where my successes came and where my failures came. So
Hmm.
I also have my story is that it didn't come out, I didn't start out all a ball of fire. Graduated high school at 17 with really no direction. So that's where the whole process thing came in, right? So I
Yeah.
started process back, not then, but shortly thereafter when I started to figure everything out. So I think it's just that. It's just a simple thing that I think partially because I think so many people look beyond that which is right in front of them.
Yeah.
So they're looking for the next shiny red toy that's going to solve all their problems. When some of the tried and true stuff still works pretty darn good. And those are the things. So I think that it's my willingness to share, and part of my credo is that that's how I engage people to support me because of my willingness to share. May not be directly with them, but it's just that's my way, that's my attitude, and people know that. So.
You mentioned, people are chasing the shiny things. Do you think we're just not being patient with the process? Are we getting frustrated too early in the process? Why are we not able to stick with and see it through? Or is it smart to just cut your losses sooner than later?
Well, I think if let's say for instance, I'm in the sales business, sales and marketing business, and if you're selling something that can't be sold, like there's not a market for them, or it's limited, or it's past its prime, and I had one of those early on in my career. Um, well, yeah, I mean, you're not going to stick to it. You can't because you're not going to make any money, right? So I think it's that's where you can get a little off track, and then and there's really no process to follow that. So what I say to anybody that'll listen is that you need to identify who can buy what you're selling. Again, in the sales business and business development, all right? Who can buy what you can sell. Now, can you put everything you need to know, they need to know about you on one piece of paper so that when you have a conversation with them, you can walk through it?
Hmm.
Can you articulate a benefit that they will get from working with you? And now that you've identified these people, right, and you've got your got a couple of tools in place, who are those people and how are you going to get data and actionable data so you then can go out and pursue them in some form or fashion. And I typically say it's in the form of campaign marketing. So that's kind of I'm giving the kind of the secret sauce out of the gate, but but it all begins with something you can sell. You need successes. You need little wins. So yes, I don't think everybody needs to walk out. I mean, I certainly didn't. I mean, my first real job was something that I could sell. I was making $100 a week, and of course I tend to bar 2 nights on the weekend, so that made up for that. But but I just stuck with the process. I knew it was saleable. I knew the customers could use it. I know there was competition. I just showed up more. I was well presented. I didn't intrude on them.
Mm-hmm.
I brought them specials. I brought them ideas, all those things. So I added value. So with those little wins, you'll stay with the process. So,
Talk to me about positive activity.
so positive activity is kind of the sum total of my and my wife's experience to this point. Some of it came from personal stuff, and some of it came from business. So positive activity we've always been positive people. Pretty much. You can't be in sales. I work the bar. You can't have a dull, you can't have a frown on your face, and then I've been in sales. If you walk in, oh me, oh, like Eeyore, oh me, oh my, what is going to happen? You're not going to attract anybody to do business with you. So in some form or fashion, we were always positive people. But oh gosh, it started around 2008. If anybody remembers '08 out there, it wasn't very good. And we're in a small business and things were tough. And how are we going to pay the bill? And, we still have the kids around. My daughter was in college. And we have a special needs child and we've got the third. So there was a little bit of worry there, and then somewhere, and my daughter was, I think it was 2010, in her senior year in high school, had a career in, she was a lacrosse player in college. She had a head injury,
Oh
which
no.
which ended her career and ended that year pretty much because she had to come back and take her senior year again. Um, but while she was home, she was having very challenged with being able to see things, couldn't use a computer, couldn't watch movies. This went on for a while. Yeah, this was pretty bad. So, anyways, she asked my wife because she hadn't couldn't drive yet. Hey, this wellness fair is up the street at the hotel. Would you take me? So Lori goes, sure. So meanwhile, we've just come off of the '08, '09, '10 malaise of business, and now we get this with our daughter. And Lori went up and she goes, oh my goodness, this stuff is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's all mindful stuff, law of attraction, uh, positive thinking, the happiness advantage, all these things that are nothing that is new. I
Right.
mean, you can go back to the Stoics, and they've been doing this stuff since before common time, right? So, so we started adopting it. She really adopted it.
Yeah.
She got right into it. Me being the guy from the negative Irish Catholic household, it was little tougher to jump on board, but I got there and I'm there. I'm definitely there. And so what we suggest is in a positive activity program, we suggest that your day starts with a journal. And in that journal, there are certain things that you can do with this that if you've heard of if your listeners haven't heard of it, The Happiness Advantage by Sean Acor is a man who studied happiness at Harvard for 12 years. And he came up with the book, The Happiness Advantage. If you don't want to read the book, get the 12-minute TED Talk on YouTube, and he
Okay.
busts right through it. And essentially, what we do every day, Lori's practice is a little bit more profound. We start with three things that a gratitude practice. And a lot of this stuff is out in the mainstream now, just whether or not anybody's practicing it, right? So, and then we have an intentional recall, which takes that. What did you experience in the last 24 hours that really made you happy? And then go back and act like you're there again, right? Get that
Hmm.
feeling, and then we found we plan to or have already meditated. We plan to move our bodies, typically in a yoga studio, a Pilates. Lori does bar, but we're both yogis, so we're into that. I ride a bike, I weight train, all this stuff. So I'm doing something every day.
Yeah.
And then we write I am statements. So these are affirmations, right?
Okay.
So for me, I am a speaker. I am a musician. I am a mentor. I am a writer. I am positive, creative, productive. I am enough. I have enough. So and then I take another one for your listeners if they haven't read it. Now, my guess is maybe you have, is the Four Agreements. Are you familiar with the Four Agreements?
Mm.
Okay. The Four Agreements go like this. Don't be impeccable with your word. Don't be disparaging of yourself or of others. Don't make assumptions because you never know the circumstances.
Yes.
Don't make uh, don't take things personal because you don't know what the other person or the other party is going through. And finally, always do your best. So what I do is I spin that and I say, I will be impeccable with my word. I won't make assumptions. I won't take things personally, and I will always do my best. So that's kind of the kickoff to the day. Now, people could get all that takes, even if you throw in, and for most people, 5 minutes of meditation is just fine. I'm transcendental meditation trained, 20 minutes twice a day. I don't always do TM. I do NSDRs, not sleep deep breaths, yoga nidra, while in bed sometimes to help myself relax and get back to sleep. So that will count for my meditation, but some sort of mindful behavior every day. So that's what positive. So now you're in. So now the ditty that goes with this is positive activity is the practice, right? Because nothing is perfect.
Right.
Practice of getting your mindset right, getting it at shifting it into a place of positivity, which leads you to open-minded, divergent thinking, solution providing, creativity.
Ooh,
And
okay.
now you're in creative mode,
Ooh,
right?
good.
So you don't see problems, you only see solutions. Or you have the knowledge, you have the strong your vibration is high enough where it's not going to get you down in the dumps and you know things are going to work out.
Okay.
And that's what we call rational optimism.
Okay.
Right. If we know, just because, as a matter of fact, I'm going to read this from, this was a quote, a friend of mine, I'm reading it from across the room here. So a friend of mine, we tended bar together back in the day. And I live in New Hampshire and I have a place in Plymouth, Massachusetts. And he lives in Duxbury, Massachusetts, was 2 towns up. So every time during, you know what, and I won't say the word, but we all get stuck inside. Okay. um, I would drive down Route 3, which is with the route you're gonna go, and I would say, Art, tell me something good. And Art's in the market, so he's a talking head on CNBC and all these places. I think he's on Fox Business, a number of outlets. And so we just got to going back and forth and didn't realize that I was making his day as much as he was making mine.
Yeah.
So I said, and I told him, I said, all right, your level of optimism, especially when he's talking out in the market, if he's out there on CNBC or wherever, he's not talking woe is me and all that. He's finding the light and he's always promoting the light. It isn't always great for him because they want the negative, right? So, but what he said to me is that you don't have to think everything is great all the time to be an optimist. I certainly don't, but I believe that humanity's ability to solve problems increases over time. That's the kind of optimism that guides my life.
I really like that. And I really like it. I'm going to tell you why. Because I think that the trap that a lot of people do fall in is the toxic positivity trap, where they feel like they have to overcompensate all of this stuff and act like there's never any bad, or you can't even look at any bad or assess it to get better. And I feel like that can be just as bad as thinking bad all the time.
Um, I would suggest no,
Okay.
because by thinking positive, you're already making that shift. Pollyanna may not be, I think is what you're kind of describing.
Yeah.
I like to call it, you know, maybe these people, maybe they're not, maybe they're just blind to everything. I don't know. But I think the way that we operate, we recognize that, I mean, we've got a 34-year-old man with profound autism. He will
Yeah.
never, I can't say never because he's doing some great things now, but he can't speak. But there's a lot, he'll never live alone right now. It's today. And I don't see anything happening, right now that's going to make a change in that. But so that's something we live with, and we
Mhm.
just figure it out daily, whatnot, yada yada yada. So, but if you were to talk to my wife, Yeah, she would tell you that being positive, even if it's fake as all get out, is better than negative.
Okay. Let's talk about your book. When did you decide that it was important to put something down and publish something that would supplement everything you're doing with positive activity?
So, well, it was it was during you know what, and I won't say the word that I wrote it, and but it came from a time. I live here in a golf community in New Hampshire, and there was at the club up the hill, they had the local chamber chapter was honoring the 30 to watch under 30, and my daughter happened to be one of them. So, of course, as good doting parents, even though she's in her late 20s, we went.
Mhm.
The guy who brought Five Guys Burgers to New Hampshire was the keynote speaker, and I loved him. Number one, he was my kind of guy. He's plain talk. Not gonna get. You don't have to bring the thesaurus, right? You're not gonna try to trip you up with a big word, right? And um, and essentially what he's talking about was the hospitality business, which I spent well behind the bar 10 years, and then probably another five doing other various other jobs. And he said, so in that there's this thing called pre-meal. So you get the team together, you kind of tell them what's going on, if there's a special, this, that, and the other thing, and then you give a rah-rah speech and you're on for the day. Well, his rah-rah speech went something like this: I am not in the burger business. We're not in the fry business. We're not in the soda business. We're not in the shake business. We're in the hospitality business. And I looked at my wife, and for point of context, I met her. She was a food server while I was a bartender at a place in Boston. And I looked at her, I said, I've never left the bar business. I've been on the road tending bar for 35 plus years. And then that's where the concept came from. And then when I just had I had been thinking about it and thinking about it from that point, so much so that we did some research on how other companies were using hospitality for enhance their business. Places like a national chain like Starbucks, with the music that they play and the greetings that you get. There was a guy, it was a men's store in Atlanta that had a gumball machine in it. Simple, but effective,
Mhm.
right? So, and then then from there, I just got inspired. I started writing like little ditties, little 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 short stories. And one that I had written about was we just had a 70th birthday party for a guy that we worked with at this place called the Full Sail in White Horse Beach, Plymouth, Massachusetts. He was 70. I said, boy, I didn't know you were that much older than me. I was 58 at the time. And so it was just this really great experience. We kind of relived it for a little bit.
Mhm.
I got the old T-shirt and I made it up for everybody. So I sent them all for holiday. They all get T-shirts and we wore them at this party. And then I just wrote about it. I wrote about what the place was like, the people that you met, the friendships that you had. And, these people I've been friends with. I mean, I worked there when I was 19 years old. I'm going to be 67. So they, these relationships that you had. So I had that piece, and then that same area of Plymouth is where I kind of spent summers as a kid growing up. So I had written something on that. So I had these two pieces, and then I had this story that I always tell about my less than um, ideal start to my adult life in terms
Mhm.
of getting my motor going and not failing out of schools and whatnot, and finally catching my footing. So I had that, and then I started thinking, well, what made me succeed? Oh, I get this hospitality thing, and then I just started. Then again, sitting around, trying not to drive myself crazy, I just took out a big analysis, not even analysis, one of the a sketch pad,
Yeah.
artist sketch pad. And I just started writing down things like, what's important? Well, organization, being on time, um, appearance, attitude, aptitude, product knowledge, peripheral knowledge, um, humility, all these things that just that, and that's and basically made up the chapters of the book. And the final chapter is called Hospitality Happiness, and that's the kind of where the cherry on top, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you've got customers that you've got this symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
You're digging, they're digging what you're doing, and you're appreciating their business, and it just kind of works. It's like, and it's, and that takes relationship building. It takes time. It takes trust. It takes integrity, and all those things build. So that's, and that's how we operate our business, on integrity. We think about everything that we do, and how would we want to be treated in that fashion. So it gets back to the golden rule.
Yeah.
So again, simple stuff.
Yeah.
No complex marketing theory in this book, but it's good reminders. And you know why it's a good reminder? You know why I wrote the book? Because I
Why?
need to be reminded of it.
Sometimes you do. I mean, you go through it and you do it, but sometimes just seeing it right there in front of you can
So
give you this.
we made a presentation last Thursday, Lori and I, to a speaker bureau, agents. And one, I have a friend, I have a guy that I've done business with in there. He trusts that we've done some things for him before. And I said, I'd like to come in. Lori and I will bring lunch, and we'll make a presentation on the topics we'd like to speak on, and, yada, yada, yada. So we go in and we go, we come in the room, and this, that, and the other. But forgot to ask for business cards. Didn't ask him about their business. So we wound up running out of time. So now I'm backtracking, and I've got their information. Today I sent them all out books and whatnot. So I'm following up, but I would have been better positioned should I have asked them, hey, can you tell me a little bit about the markets you serve? Because then we could think and go, okay, you're into schools, you do associations, you do this. We can tailor our message to anything. But because of that rookie mistake, I am now backfilling.
Yeah.
And one of the things is, you just don't make that many sales calls anymore.
Yeah. True.
I mean, in our business, everything is Zoom and this, that, and the other thing. Believe me, I want desperately to make sales calls. If I can make two or three a day, I'd be the happiest guy on the planet, because that's the fun of it. But everybody's on the go. People are working from home, and our primary business is the swag business, corporate logo stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's kind of how that all came about.
So let me ask you, I think it is so valuable to have worked in customer service or hospitality. Everybody should at some point in their life, I think. But for those that haven't ever touched into that world, what are some of the key takeaways that you have learned that you think are so valuable for everyone else to learn?
Can you have a conversation? Can you go into a bar, or, if you're not into bars, can you go sit on a park bench, and if somebody's there, can you engage? Obviously, if they're covered up, you leave them alone.
Yeah.
But if you see an opening, beautiful day, wonderful, is it? Where you from? And then you can go from there.
But I'll just stop you right there. That's something to be able to read that person if they're open to that conversation. I feel like a lot of times, we don't pick up on those signals anymore, or even notice where they are and what they, how valuable that is to know if someone's closed off or they're open for a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, and it's all teachable. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
for
not,
sure.
and you just have to. In the immortal words of George Carlin, do you remember George
I
Carlin, the comedian?
remember with the name, yes.
He used to do a bit called "You Had to Wanna."
Yeah.
You had to wanna. You want to get better at it? Here's
I
what you do.
want. Yeah.
How about things like, just engaging people? If you walk a dog, do you say hello to everybody you meet? That's a start. And some people are going to keep their head down. I mean, we have a woman that walks around this complex here. I don't know. It's about 3 miles all internal, because some days I ride my bike in here and I can get in 30 miles and never leave, and not even be out in the traffic, which is good. Um, Never waves.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, it's fine. I'm not gonna get mad at her. Just like, okay, that's not someone you're necessarily gonna. She is not open, right?
Yeah.
Now, it could turn out we wind up at a cocktail party sometime, and she's the greatest gal in the world. I don't know. She just wants to be serious or on a walk, but that you'll find that out then. But those are the simple things. I've got a brother who's very very introverted, um, and he's the third of eight. Where I'm the seventh of eight.
Oh, goodness.
And we walk around Plymouth. I say hello to everybody.
Yeah.
He says hello to nobody.
Yeah. His personality difference.
Yeah. Doesn't make him a bad guy. Just
No.
that's not his jam. He's not, I'm one of the things I was walking during you know what, and I won't say the word. I was walking to my workout. And
Yeah.
it was like a 45-minute walk. So 45-minute walk, an hour workout, 45-minute walk back. Great. I got 2.5 hours killed for the day. Great. Right. That's the way I looked at it. And I got my workout in. I got a nice little fat burner in on top of it. I looked down on my phone, and a friend of mine had texted me, and my nickname back in working the bar that she knew me at was Nelson. She goes, Nelson, I was just thinking about you. I know this is tough on all of us, but this must be especially hard on you because I get energy from people, you know. It doesn't mean I can't, I can't, I'm not good by I'm happy. I'm in this place by myself right now. My wife is somewhere else, but but it's just, I prefer good quality people having fun or great conversation. I just had a conversation with my sister-in-law the other day. She's not good in a crowd.
Hmm.
So every time I see her in a crowd. I don't go to pull her aside, let me, talk to her. So my bad. We had this conversation. So they came down to our place last weekend. I walked down. My brother and I were going to a show, and I said, "That's the first conversation I've ever had with your wife, and she is marvelous, so smart, and so insightful." And
Hmm.
it's like, didn't know it was there.
Hmm.
I knew she was sweet. Knew she was a nice lady,
Yeah.
but and I knew she was intelligent because of the work she does, but just her ability to communicate was something I didn't anticipate. So
Yeah.
I mean, so it takes all kinds.
So conversation is one of the big ones that you've taken from hospitality. What are a couple other highlights that you feel a lot of people could benefit from?
Well, the best one I like to say, and this because there's a bar story that goes on with this, because a lot goes wrong, in a restaurant. You get so many variables, right? You got to take ownership of it,
Yeah.
right? Don't go, oh my goodness, there's the kitchen. Oh, you just take it. Listen, let me work this out for you. Go work it out with whoever you have to work it out with, and come back. And just say, listen, we're a team here. One of the cogs in the wheel just didn't fire well today. I was gonna mix metaphors there. And this is what happened. Your French fries came out cold, but in 4 minutes, I got you a new batch,
Yeah.
and nobody was the wiser.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the thing. So so the little saying that we put to this in the book is being right, it's overrated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you rather get in a beef with somebody? I never feel, and growing up the way I did, in kind of a high strung Irish environment, arguments came quick. You
Yeah.
know, I try to avoid them like the plague now. Even if I win them, I never feel good.
Yeah.
Never. Even or at least if I think I won, it probably is more the case.
Yeah.
So that's always a good one. The simple ones are, are you organized? Are you prepared? Do you have time named after you? Do you know what I mean by that?
Right.
Do you have that friend where you go, oh, it's Smith time because they're always 10 minutes late?
Oh,
You
right.
don't want that.
No.
Even in personal stuff.
Yeah.
Because what you're saying is, in essence, your time doesn't matter. I'm okay being late because, well, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. All right.
Now, is it the end of the world in a personal situation? No. I mean, but it can get annoying, right? If you're
Yeah.
waiting on somebody all the time or whatever. So
Well, before we close, I got a couple of rapid fire questions for you.
fire away.
All right. So it's kind of along the lines of a fun run. If you could run anywhere to relax, where would you run to?
White House Beach.
If you could run to help anybody any time of the day, who would you run to help?
My son.
If you could either for fitness run or do something else, what's it going to be? Run or something else?
Yoga.
Yoga. All right. Thanks so much for sharing your time. Where can people go to connect with you, buy your book?
Positiveactivity.net.
All right.
Everything about me and my wife and or at least our business is on there. And we're speaking on business development topics, but we're also speaking on caregiver. So that's one of the things because we do use the positive activity method in caregiving as well, how we deal with Craig. As Matt, real quickly, a friend of mine said to me when he got the book, he came visited me in March. He got the book and he visited me in July, and he said, "I read your book. I really liked your book. Is that how you did the other stuff too?" I said, "Yep, same method." So
All right.
there you go.
Looking forward to it. All right. You come back anytime. Thanks so much for spending some time with us.
Thank you. Bye,
All
guys.
right. You can find more videos to watch or listen on any platform you prefer when you link over from runitstudios.com.